Okay, these are the solutions to Unit Test 3, and we had pretty good results here. These are going to be questions 1 through 5, and here you're looking at the solution data for 1 through 5, and seeing on question 1, we had a nearly a 90% success rate on that question, and you'd expect that. And question 2, an 80% success rate. Then it drops off. So, question 3 with rational expressions, there appears to be a little bit of difficulty there, um, short of a 60% success rate on that question. And then back up for question 4, solving the equation. Uh, 84% success rate is good. Just silly errors. And question number 5, solving a proportion by cross multiplying an 85% success ratio there. So those are the stats on questions 1 through 5. Um, question 1, you're looking at a two-step equation. It involves fractions. We have a denominator of 7, denominator of 8. So the technique is to multiply both sides times 8 by 7. You multiply by the two denominators, uh, and that would be, of course, 56. So we're multiplying both sides by 56. Of course, over here on the left, the 7's cancel. We got 8 times 2, so you get 16x equals, and when you multiply over here, you're actually distributing, right? So you're going to get 7x plus what's basically 9 times 8 times 7, so it's 504 there. Bring the 7x over by additive inverse, you get 9x. Divide by 9, you get a final answer of 56. Okay, so in the answer space, you merely put a 56. You don't put x equals. Um, you should have the simplified form. You shouldn't really put 504 over 9. That might work. I'm not sure the settings on that question. It might accept that answer. Preferred answer would be just a 56 in the answer space. Okay. Question 2, quadratic equation, stuff of the high school realm, solving by factoring. And in this case, we have a factor of 3. So we're going to divide out the factor of 3 from all terms. And that's going to leave us with a 3 times 4x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. From, uh, from there, we perform a factorization. Now, if this piece, this 4x squared minus 3x minus 1, is difficult for you to factor, then you might want to consider the AC method that was talked about in Unit 1 on factoring. Um, and so from there, if you need a little practice with that, let us know. We can set up another video for you, whatever you'd like. So the factors should have been 4x plus 1 and x minus 1 out of that. So again, you're multiplying three numbers together. 3 times 4x plus 1 times x minus 1 equals 0. And when you multiply three numbers and get a 0, then one of those factors must be equal to 0. Right? A times B times C is 0. So either A is 0, or B is 0, or C is 0. We solve each of those that we can. We get one answer of x equals 1. We get another answer of x equals negative 1/4. And this 3 equals 0. Of course, that would make no sense. We'd reject that answer as, extraneous, whatever you want to refer to it as. Now, in the answer space, right, because this has been a question for a lot of students, all you need in the answer space is negative 1/4, comma, 1. And it doesn't matter what order you put them in. You can put the 1 first if you want. Don't put parentheses around it. Don't put an x equals on them. Just the answers separated by a comma. And that's the rule for questions that have multiple answers. Okay? So hopefully that'll be cleared up and it won't be a problem in the fall semester for you. Um, that's another part of what this program's all about is learning to work with the WebAssign platform. So that's question 2. Uh, Now, question 3, this is where we dropped off. Didn't have a very good success rate on this question. All right. Notice no equal sign. This is not an equation. This is a expression, and it's an expression involving two fractions, right? A rational expression. So to subtract fractions, as we want to do here, we're going to need a common denominator. So we're going to have 4 over y minus 3 times y plus 3 minus 2 over y times y minus 3. All right? So you compare the two denominators. You look at this y minus 3 times y plus 3, and how is it the same or how is it different than y times y minus 3? Well, obviously, both fractions have a y minus 3. The fraction on the right is missing a factor of y plus 3. So you introduce that factor to top and bottom. So you're multiplying by a 1, and it doesn't change the value of the ratio of the fraction. The fraction on the left is obviously missing a multiple of y. So you introduce that factor. And likewise, you would do that in the numerator. Again, multiplying by 1 on that fraction, so you're not changing the value of that fraction. Then what's done here is the two fractions are made into one fraction with that common denominator shown. So we get away from showing two fractions here, combine them both and write one fraction. And 4 times y is 4y. And now here's where we feel like people might be making this mistake. When you do minus 2 times y plus 3, as shown right here, you are distributing a minus sign. So that ends up being minus 2y minus 6 right there. Okay? And we saw a lot of solutions. We'll show you what we think went wrong. That, of course, becomes a 2y minus 6. And we think a lot of students had 2y plus 6 right there because they failed to distribute that minus sign. That's what we were seeing. Now, from here, hopefully the 2y minus 6, you identify that factors that can have a 2 split out of it. And so that gives you 2 times y minus 3. And then at this point, we cancel the y minus 3 and the y minus 3. So the answer we were looking for and that you would put in the answer space on WebAssign, when you click in that answer space, it should pop up something called a calc pad or a math pad. And that's helpful to enter some of these symbols and expressions that you need to enter. So in this one, when you enter a fraction, you can then put a 2 in the numerator of the fraction. And then on the bottom, you should have put in a y, parenthesis, y plus 3. Okay? Or you could actually distribute that. You could have written 2 over y squared plus 3y. Either one of those would have been acceptable. Again, we think the critical error for almost everybody who missed it was distributing the minus 2. Right? That's what it looked like to us. 4 and 5, not much of an issue here. Pretty straightforward. 4, first step in factoring, look for a common number and or letter. So the x is divided out, leaves you with the x squared minus x minus 30. That factors really easily. X minus 6, x plus 5. Okay. And from there, you set each one of your factors equal to 0 and solve. So out of that, we got answers of 0, 6, and minus 5. And again, you enter those in the answer space by entering a 0, a comma, a 6, a comma, and a minus 5. That's all there is to it. Now, notice the difference between 4 and 3. 3, we had a factor of a constant equal to 0. That, of course, got rejected. On this one, we saw a variable singleton equal to 0. That's an acceptable answer because that's a variable, not a constant. Make sure you see that difference, note that difference. All right. And number 5, pretty successful here. This is a proportion. You cross multiply. Don't miss the distributing. Wasn't too likely. People seem to do okay with it. We get 11 is equal to 2x, so x equals 11 halves. So you could have entered the 11 halves as your answer, right? We saw a lot of people put in 11 halves. We saw some people convert it to a decimal. That should be all right. 5 and 5/10. Either one of those would have been acceptable. So that's questions 1 through 5. We hope you found them helpful, and we'll see you a little later.